On today's show, Royal Mail have once again put their foot in it, a nasty new driving scam to watch out for, and the Lords are messing with things yet again. Let's begin. The article says that Royal Mail has apologised for an April Fool's joke in which staff at a Gloucestershire branch were promised a pay rise. The poster was placed at the Gloucestershire North Delivery Office on the 1st of April, informing staff that they would receive an 11% pay rise backdated till April 2022, after an agreement was reached with the Communications Workers Union, the CWU. A spokesman for Royal Mail said the poster has now been removed and the joke was misjudged. Postal workers have been a part of an ongoing dispute over pay, jobs and conditions, and the poster was put up in the office as the CWU was preparing to announce new strike dates. In a statement, Royal Mail said, "We apologise for any upset caused by this misjudged April Fool's joke at one of our delivery offices. The poster was removed and the local manager has apologised." The prank poster also said Royal Mail would employ 10,000 new Telegram boys and introduce brand new fleet of diesel vans and bicycles to replace electric vans. A CWU spokesperson said hundreds of CWU members have been sacked and dismissed for far less than this joke. It seems to be the case at the moment that Royal Mail managers can just do anything they choose. It is destroying morale and is playing its role in running the company into the ground. Actually, hang on. I think the only thing that's running the company into the ground is your strikes. Because let's face it, if a company strikes and users cannot post things or do whatever they normally do with that company, then they will find a replacement, won't they? And don't forget, quite a lot of the time now, people don't actually receive letters at all. I mean, gone are the days where people receive things like bank statements and credit card statements through the post. They're often delivered through either email or apps nowadays, aren't they? Unless, of course, you opt for them to come through the post, that is. And whilst admittedly, probably quite a lot of elderly people will do that, I'm guessing not many younger people will. And therefore, demand for letters is going to get less and less as time goes on, isn't it? And yes, I know what you're going to say about parcels, but the thing with parcels is there are other companies out there like Every or Hermes or whatever you want to call them. Not forgetting, of course, DBD and even Amazon, I'm pretty sure have their own. But then, of course, quite a lot of the time nowadays, things are actually delivered to store for people to pick up when it's convenient for them, rather than waiting in for that knock on the door. I mean, I'm sure we can all remember what that's like. You get a silly time of 8 to 8 or something like that, and even if it's a shorter time, say 8 till 1, you're constantly pressed up the glass looking for the postman or whoever to come and deliver your parcel. You think, oh, it's not going to come now, so you go upstairs, sit on the toilet, and just as you're about to do what you're about to do, bang, 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 knock on your door. So if you're lucky enough to make it downstairs before tripping over your trousers, you'll no doubt, of course, be greeted with one of those, "Oh, we're sorry we missed you" cards. You're going to have to come down to our office and pick it up. But the thing is, the minimum wage has now gone up to £10.42 an hour. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Royal Mail staff have actually been paid either that amount or much higher for a little while now. So what you've got to ask yourself is if low paid staff on minimum wage, such as shop workers or whatever else, are actually striking as well, and I'll bet you the answer is probably no. In which case, surely Royal Mail, or maybe the manager, is just taking a mick out of the strikes in general, thereby alluring to the fact that they're probably okay for money as it is. But of course, I could be wrong. Also, I'm pretty sure that telegrams haven't been around since the 1900s, and if they just splashed a load of money out on EVs, I doubt they'll be returning to diesel anytime soon. So to be honest, I'm surprised they even thought that this was a genuine offer, and not an April Fool's joke from the beginning, especially being posted up on the 1st of April. But then again, of course, some people just can't take a joke, although admittedly, yes, I do understand that obviously, as we're in a current cost of living crisis, it probably wasn't the best of jokes to do. But let's face it, Royal Mail themselves better be careful, because if the demand for their service gets less and less and less, then they'll probably end up closing shop altogether. And in that case, in my opinion, they'll surely only have themselves to blame. Drivers are being warned about a new crash scam that sees fraudsters lurk on residential roads, fake collisions and force drivers into handing over cash. The new con is a bit of a twist on the traditional crash for cash scams, where scammers purposely cause a collision. It involves scammers accusing drivers of clipping their wing mirror before becoming threatening and demanding cash up front. It often takes place on the residential road, according to police, and a fraudster waits in a parked car, and as the victim drives by, they throw a heavy object such as a rock at their car to make the sound of a crash. They then flash their lights at the victim to get them to stop before accusing them of clipping their wing mirror, which was already damaged. The scammer then demands the driver hands over cash and pressures them into visiting a cash point. And unfortunately, in some cases where the victim has not agreed to hand over cash, the offender has become physically intimidating. The scam warning was issued by the Insurance Fraud Bureau, the IFB, and City of London's Police Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, the IFED. as well as several insurers. The IFB and IFED are investigating more than 40 incidents where innocent people appear to have been targeted, but they are concerned that hundreds of cases could be going unreported because people do not recognise the scam. Some insurers have said that they're also seeing younger drivers and elderly drivers being targeted, and police said that money should never be handed over at the scene, even if a genuine collision has happened. These bloody scammers always try to think of new scams to try and fool us with. Although you've got to admit that people like pickpockets, for example, have had a bit of a hard time over the last couple of years during the pandemic, because can you imagine trying to pick someone's pocket from 1.5 meters away? But then again, joking aside, these people are the lowest of the low in my opinion. And of course it goes without saying that it's always best to be on your guard and also have a dash cam, because not only in that case can you play it back and then give the bloke a virtual middle finger, you can then inform the police what he's up to. And let's face it, they probably wouldn't exactly want the police called with the collision that they just had. It's just quite annoying, isn't it? Because people like this often make car insurance rates go up for the majority of decent drivers out there who are doing nothing wrong. But unfortunately, we all seem to be paying the price for these sort of fake accidents. I myself personally think that if a similar thing happened to me, then the first thing I'd do is try and take all their details. And if they don't hand them over, straight away, then I'd call the police and take it from there. Peers are attempting to delay a Brexit bonfire of EU laws by 5 years. The retained EU law bill paves the way for more than 4,000 Brussels-derived laws still on UK statutes book to be scrapped by the end of the year. The peers included ex-Conservative Party Chairman Lord McLaughlin, I hope I pronounced that right, and former Tory Armed Forces Minister Lord Hamilton of Epsom are demanding Parliament be given a final say, rather than the government. They want the deadline to ditch the laws accumulated during decades in the bloc pushed back to December the 31st, 2028. And it comes after Conservative former Cabinet Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg previously warned peers against obstructing the legislation. Mr Rees-Mogg told the Express, "As the bill passed through the Commons with a large majority, I hope the Lords will recognise it's a strong democratic mandate. Although there are many peers who have never liked the referendum result, they are there to revise technical detail, not to obstruct the voters. The bill has already cleared the Commons but has received a furious reception in the Lords. Opponents claim it's a power grab by the government and that it threatens legal rights and protections." And of course, here we go once again, Project Fear 2.0. Legal rights and protections threatened, oh no! The thing is though, whilst of course we often hear sort of things like this, what they just love to seem to keep quiet is that quite a lot of the time, our law of workers' rights and rules go further than what the EU law does. And in some cases, I'm pretty sure I heard that the EU law was actually created from our law in the first place. So of course, I think at the end of the day, they're just still, after 7 years nearly, refusing to accept the referendum result and just wishing their EU masters would just take us back. But they better watch themselves, because if they keep up this sort of thing, then I'm sure there'll become a time, hopefully not too long in the future, when people will say, well, hang on a minute, we're voting for things, but these Lords keeps blocking it. So I think it's about time we actually got rid of the House of Lords, especially if they keep going against what people are voting for. And regardless if you voted for Leave or Remain, you have to admit that if they're going against the democratic result, whether you like it or not, that can't exactly be a good thing, can it? And sets a dangerous precedent in my opinion. Kind of like the kangaroo court which unfortunately Boris is going through at the moment. Especially as the Lords themselves just seem to be unelected bureaucrats, don't they? They're actually unaccountable, aren't they? And just seem to think that they can just do as they like. Well, I'm sorry, but you can't, because it will end up biting you in the bum in the future, I'm guessing. Also, with all this frustrating of the Brexit vote, can anyone imagine if something like this happened in the olden days of, say, King Henry VIII, for example? I wonder what he would have made of people working with a foreign body against their own country, as it is often seemed to be the case since 2016, because they appear to have trouble understanding what the word no means. I mean, obviously, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing they probably wouldn't exactly be too happy with them, and may have given them a little bit more than the virtual middle finger. Speaking of which, in this video, Tony Blair has been given the virtual middle finger himself, and he appeared to, let's just say, poke his nose in. Anyway, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.